You ready to do this, Matt?
Yes, sir. Punch it, Chewie.
Welcome, super friends, to the Fortress of Nerditude podcast, a safe place to talk about all things in nerd and pop culture. I'm Spencer Stapleton, and my co-pilot is Matt Shaw. We're two nerds that just refuse to grow up. Thank you for joining us. This is episode 166. We release every Thursday morning. You can find us on the website, fortofnerd.com. We have links to iTunes, Google Music, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, everywhere podcasts are available. Stop by and relax a while. If you like what you're hearing, hit that subscribe button and get us automatically each and every week in your ear holes. You know, Matt, that was the weirdest Punch It Chewie I think I've heard. And I've heard 165 previous to this one.
Well, it will only get weirder from now on.
It's just like had this ethereal quality to it.
It was
like,
odd. It was odd.
Steve Madura used to do the really like aggressive Punch It Chewies, and Stu kind of varied it up, and you're going with this like creepy horror show vibe because I think you wanted to make me uncomfortable.
I want to make everyone as uncomfortable as possible as often as I can. That's typically my goal in life.
Nice. How has your week been, Matt? What's been going on?
Yeah, it was a pretty good week. A few things I did. Yoda style.
Wow, yeah.
So I finally finished the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance. I have been talking about how great that show is for such a long time, I feel like, on the podcast. And it's so good, but so many things happen in life, like having a baby and like all this other crap that takes place, that you sometimes lose sight of what's really important, and that's what shows you're supposed to be watching. So anyway, I hopped back in and finished it, and it is so good. I seriously can't recommend that show enough to all of you. I need you to watch it so I can get my second season, because I'm sure when you watch it, you'll go, wow, this was probably very expensive to make. Very expensive. They put out the numbers, and it was like 2,500 people total had to work on it, and there's multiple people puppeting each puppet, and there's 250 puppet models, and there's like all of this extra work they had to do creating, models that make it look like they're in this huge place, but they're not in that big of a place. Anyway, if you like Lord of the Rings, I feel like you would like this show. It's kind of got that epic adventure feel. It's really cool. So anyway.
Interesting.
I did finally finish that. And my dad told me he had a service that does some content editing, we'll say, for like Netflix and Amazon Prime and things like that, to edit out some of the, we'll call it, mature themes in the TV shows. And I watched The Witcher, and it took me like 2 days because I loved it so much. So I don't know how much I missed. I don't think I missed very much. I think it just
Probably
cuts
not.
out all of some of the nudity stuff, I think, is pretty much what it cut, because I like the gore. I'm a horror guy, so I kept all that. Some gross stuff happens in that show, and it was awesome. Anyway, so I watched The Witcher, and now I can appreciate what everyone's talking about, and that stupid song is... First time I heard it, I was like...
Toss a coin to your Witcher, oh valley
it's so
of
good.
plenty.
I
Oh,
heard
valley
it,
of
and I was like, this is good. It's a decent song, but then you can't get it out of your head.
Nope.
It's so good. Anyway, so I was like stoked on that. I thought it was really, really good. Shockingly confusing for the first 4 episodes. And then you kind of get your bearings and you're like, well, they could have done that a little better. But it was still entertaining, even when I didn't completely understand where I was and what time I was in and who I was following exactly, which I think is the same story that everyone had watching that. A lot of confusion, but thoroughly entertained.
But it's meant to be that way.
Right. And it all kind of comes together. Obviously, it all comes together at the end. There's not really an end to it.
The end of the first season.
Yeah, the end of what we know. And that was, those were my big two, like, things this week. Other than that, we just kind of did our own thing. Just hung out with the kids and, made some food. I do most of the cooking in our house these days. Just because
Nice.
I feel like Jesse's with the kids all day, so I feel like the least I could do is make us some dinner. So I do most of that meal planning and cooking. So I spend some time doing that in the afternoon. So that's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. And I tried to hop back into God of War. I haven't played video games. I just don't have time. I don't choose to use my time in that way right now, I should say. I have time, but there's so many other things that I want to do. And I know I'm going to take a lot of crap for this. I cannot get into that game. I just can't get into it. Well, for one thing, for me, I'm a simple man, okay, right? I grew up on Nintendo systems, and I cannot understand the skill trees and the upgrades in that game. I can't wrap my head around it. It doesn't make any sense to me. The abilities and I'm a couple hours into the game and I'm upgrading my axe and stuff, but I'm like, why? I just keep doing the same move over and over and it works just fine. That's my only complaint is I wanted the combat to be interesting. The story's really good, but I wanted more. I don't know. I don't know.
So it's been a little while since I played it because I played that game in 2018 when it came out.
Right.
Which was like May of 2018, I think. My memory serves me. It's such a good narrative. Like the story is so good in that game. Brita watched me play it. Brita loves to watch me play games that got really good stories that kind of hook her. I recall that the combat gets a little more nuanced the more you upgrade because then you can start doing some other things.
Yeah.
And when you get to a certain part, some other things happen, and then like you have like lots of different options.
Right.
So
I may or may not push through it. I haven't decided yet because there's so many other things on the horizon.
Okay, so I would say push through just because of the story alone. Because
I turned the difficulty down because I was
good.
getting bored of all the fighting, honestly.
Yeah.
And for me, like we've talked about on this podcast, it's very linear, which for me is not usually good. I don't like the linearity of video games. I like to kind of create my own adventure, which is, why I like some of the other games. Jedi Fallen Order is sort of linear, but also open world, and I can choose the path I want to do what I want to do. Kill people how I want to kill people, man. Anyway, so that was that. And Emmy keeps begging me. Yes, I let my daughter watch me play that game. Yes, she's concerned about the mother whose body burned at the beginning. Spoilers to anybody, but that's at the very beginning of the game. So, yes, she's concerned about the little boy following me the entire time. Where is he, Daddy? Where is he? You have to help him. Help him get across. I'm like, okay, I get it. So,
is his name Atreyu?
Atreus.
Atreus,
says it, yeah, Atreus. You would think it'd be
Atreus.
Like Atreyu, like I'm watching freaking Neverending Story or something, but. Anyway, long story short, that was pretty much the week. How was your week? What'd you do?
So my week was good. Some of the highlights here. I finished the Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order Platinum Trophy.
You did.
However, it was difficult because I got all the way to the very end and I'm short one trophy, and I realized there's a glitch in the game. So I fought one of these.
There's a lot of glitches in the game, Spencer.
There is true, but there's a glitch. There's a glitch on a trophy that will prevent you from getting the trophy. So it's how there are like places where like there's like 4 big monsters. Well, I died to one of the big spiders. It's kind of like a little mini boss, but for some reason, because of a patch that had come out by EA and Respawn, it registered that like I killed it in my databank so I could see it. However, I really didn't kill it. So when I get to the end of the game, I can't go back and get it to respawn. So what I had to do was I had to make sure I had my save point. I had to go offline. I had to delete the game from my PS4.
Oh my gosh.
I had to load my brother's disc up.
Okay.
And so I wait like 20 minutes for that to load up, because if you have a physical disc, it goes back to the patch, basically how it came out, 1.0, no patches, nothing. And then from there, now I'm on the unpatched version. Then I load up my save. Then I went into the area and it respawned the one that and then it was like, boop, pop the trophy, boom, pop the platinum trophy.
Okay.
But it sucked that I had to go get a physical disc to get back before the patch they introduced to fix one problem, which caused a problem with another trophy.
Yeah.
So,
fun.
Anyway, I was undeterred. I was going to get that. It's like, I played through this thing. I'm not going to... Nice. I would have had to have played, I would have had to have started the game over again and played through half the game to get that one freaking thing to pop the trophy.
Right.
I was like, no way.
Yeah.
So anyway, did that. I put in some new lights downstairs. I have some wall sconces by where I stream that had just kind of normal lights. And I've got these big lights that came with my green screen that I got. But I realized that I still didn't have enough light kind of in front of me. And so it was causing some weird shadowy issues, and I would get kind of dark, and then it would cause my face to look really red. So I swapped some bulbs out and got some brighter lights in here.
Nice.
And seems to be doing the trick. I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah.
Once again, Super Friends, if you're interested, I stream over on Twitch, sstapleton79. Go give me a follow. Follow that Witcher. And so the funny thing is, Matt, you were talking about the show and the song. If people follow me on Twitch, I have one little audio prompt and little video thing. But if anyone donates bits, which are basically pennies, and you can get them for free by watching videos. If you donate bits, or you actually just straight up donate money to me, part of that song, Toss a Coin to Your Witcher, with a little spinning coin plays every single time. So I get a chance to sing it and then get it stuck in my head for a day and a half, 2 days. Anyway, let's see here. Tonight, I don't know why, but my throat has started feeling sore. Just out of the blue.
Oh.
I was driving home and I was like, man, why is this? It feels a little swollen, like a gland or something.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe I've caught that kung flu that's going around.
Oh boy.
I don't know. You never know. It's pretty serious.
Yeah.
Charlie lost a tooth tonight.
Ayo.
And he bit into something, and I saw him immediately grab his mouth. I said, "Did you bite your cheek?" He's like, "No, it's my tooth. It's kind of wiggly." He doesn't want to tell me when he has a wiggly tooth, because the first couple times we had to pin him to the ground and rip it out of his mouth because he would just not take it out.
Yeah.
Tonight, he cried a bit. He didn't want to do it, but eventually he kind of got in there with a washcloth and wiggled it some, and I thought he was going to... I really wanted him to pull it himself. I was trying to build him up you can do this.
Right.
You're 7. It's time. Yeah. Daddy used to pull his own teeth out with his bare hands. And he didn't do it, but he said he didn't want me to do it, so Brita did it. And of course, Brita hates this stuff. It just grosses her out. But she got in there with a little towel, just bent it, then just boop, it popped right out.
Right.
He cried for a minute. He bled for a minute or two, and then he was done. I was like, look how easy this was. And so this went easier. So I'm hoping the next few times will get easier to when it won't matter and he'll just do it himself. But
yep.
So that happened. Oh gosh, last week we rebooted our server, our host server at work that has all of our virtualized servers on it. Basically, it runs our entire office, and the host would not come back up. And it was an all night, through the night type of affair to get this thing up and going again. And so I was pretty tired. I kind of struggled the last half, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I was off.
Yeah.
But in good news, this last weekend, Bridget and I finished a couple TV shows we were watching, and it was kind of her turn to pick something. And she was kind of asking me what I thought. She's like, well, how about this? I'm like, no. She's like, what about this? I don't know, maybe. And then she said, what about Friday Night Lights? I went, sold, immediately. So we're almost at the halfway point of season 1 of Friday Night Lights already. And I just got to say, I love me some Tammy Taylor.
She's great, man.
She is great. I've got a crush on her. I'm just saying. I said it before. I'll say it again. I love the Taylors, but I got a crush on Tammy Taylor.
There ain't nothing wrong with that.
Ain't nothing wrong with that, Connie Britton. Whew. Anyway, so yeah, that was it. Like, that was kind of our week. Like, lots of stuff felt like going on, and I feel like Baby Yoda right now who swallowed a frog. So that's a little weird too.
I'm sure that it is nothing. Just a little tickle.
I'm sure it is too. I'm sure like I'll wake up tomorrow and I'll be fine.
Yeah.
But I'm cognizant of my throat right now.
Yeah. I hate that.
And so like I'm trying like to not do anything that would like overly stress it out or growl or.
I'll make all the growling noises tonight.
Okay, well that got weird. So it's that time, Matt.
Yay!
We need to kill some Bothans. Do you have a method this week you would like to do that with?
I don't have a method. Do you? We could infect them with your illness.
Yeah, let's give them the Kung flu.
Okay, cool.
Maybe we shouldn't actually really joke about that because like real people are dying.
No. Yeah. The Spencer flu. Whatever you've got right now, you're going to give it to them, and then you're going to inject it in their throat so that they die from bleeding too.
I always have to let you know, many Bothans died to bring us this information.
Rest in peace, you Bothans.
All right, Matt, we're into Rebel Intelligence. The Bothans have died of awesomeness, as we call it, the Spencer flu.
Yeah.
What do you have for me this week?
All right, so let's start things off on a good note, confirming something we probably already knew, and that is Bill Murray is officially on board for Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Woohoo!
Not a huge surprise. We knew the others were returning. Also confirmed is that Rick Moranis is not coming back. So we had two kind of our questions confirmed. We all believed that Bill Murray would be back. It doesn't make sense for him not to be. Same with Rick Moranis. I think we all assumed that he would not be coming back. If he did, that would be a miracle in and of itself. What was interesting, though, a little tidbit at the end, Bill Murray confirmed this himself, by the way. He talks about the script. He says the script is good. It's got lots of emotion in it. It's got lots of family in it with through lines that are really interesting. It's going to work, which made me feel good that he says it's going to work. So I'm going to trust that it's going to work. And then at the end, though, here, which made me really happy was he says, when you put that gear on, it's so uncomfortable. It's so heavy. Just stand there with that weight on your back, tilting your spine. And we wore them for a very long time. So we get confirmation here. Not only is he in the movie, but he's in full Ghostbusters garb, proton pack, ready to zap some mother effers. I was so happy when I saw that he was complaining about how long he had to wear the proton pack. I was like, yes.
Do you want me to throw a damp blanket on that?
No, I don't. Nope.
It could just be because he's an old man now, and it took him a lot longer to film his scene.
That could be true. Nevertheless, the fact that I know that I get to see Bill Murray dressed as Peter Venkman,
with
the freaking
absolutely
full-on I am so happy that that's happening. So it sounds great. We're getting a real, true, full sequel, and maybe this will cap the quote trilogy, or maybe we'll just get a bunch of cool Ghostbusters films and let it keep going. We'll see how this one kind of pans out, but that's the good news.
I'm excited. I'm excited about that. All right, so I'm going to hit you with some, I don't know. It's not bad news. It's just kind of like news that like we kind of talked about, but now there's some dates. So obviously we know that the Uncharted movie is kind of in some troubled waters.
8 directors later.
Yeah, it's lost a director. It's hunting for a new one. Now it's being pushed back on the schedule. So it's not going to hit its December 18th, 2020 release date. It's now being pushed back to March 5th, 2021, which will be my 42nd birthday.
Ah.
And Emmy's what, like 5th birthday?
What year?
2021.
Fourth. She's turning 3 next month, or 2 months.
Oh, okay. So
she'll be
her
turning 4.
Yeah, so her 4th birthday. Anyway, here's the deal. That date was already taken by a movie called Masters of the Universe, a He-Man movie.
Yeah.
And we know that He-Man there's like this animated version on Netflix. It was like a continuation, but it was going to be like a limited series. Now they're rebooting it with like a full He-Man cartoon. It's going to be a complete reboot. But apparently there was also a Masters of the Universe film that was supposed to be on the 5th of March 2021. And now that's being bumped further back. So, once again, Uncharted is in uncharted waters with we don't know where the heck it's going.
Right.
And then to come to find out that, like, there was a He-Man movie, and that's now being bumped. And here's my thing. I loved He-Man growing up. Prince Adam of Eternia. Mm-hmm. I mean, come on. However, how much He-Man are we really going to be saturating the market with in such a short period of time? I mean, is there such a demand of nostalgia for He-Man like this? I'm that demographic. I am that demographic, and part of me is like, we got a He-Man movie back in like the late 80s,
right,
early 90s, and it was atrocious. It was horrible. I don't think we need a live-action He-Man movie.
Yeah, I don't think
that's just
either.
me.
Maybe it'll be canceled.
Probably.
Maybe
it'll lose its director like 8 different times.
Sure. Yep.
Anyway, there you go.
Well, I've got some more cancellations for you.
Uh-oh.
Things that you may not have even known were going to happen. I most certainly did not know they were going to happen. But there were 2 Marvel animated shows that were going to be released on Hulu, and they were Howard the Duck and Tigra and Dazzler. They've been canceled.
Yep.
Everything under the umbrella of Marvel has pretty much gone bye-bye for everyone that isn't Disney Plus. And Hulu is majority owned, or at least close to majority owned, by Disney. But I think they just want it all in one place. Doesn't make sense for them to put it in a bunch of different places. So, canceled. Sorry, all you Howard the Duck fans. I know you're out there. For reals, probably, too. Would have been interesting to see that. But we're not going to see it. So, sorry. Everyone.
I'm not crying over here about it.
No, I did not know they were happening, so I don't... Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
But you heard it here first.
There you go, kids. Heard it here first. Yeah, see?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you talked about The Witcher and how you watched it. And
yes.
you talked about how like halfway through, then you kind of went, oh, and things kind of started falling into place for you. So the director of The Witcher, Lauren Schmidt-Hissrich, she's gone on record in an interview with Vulture magazine, or with not Vulture magazine, but with Vulture.
Yeah.
And she's basically said that like there's going to be some changes in the second season, and they're all, in my opinion, great changes. Okay. So one of the big things is, since she's pulling from books, in the first season, and this is why the timelines were kind of the way they were, apparently in the books, all 3 of the main characters that are kind of the focus of this first season of The Witcher, Yennefer of Vangdeburg, Geralt of Rivia, and Ciri, are all not in the first book. Because Ciri's born much, much later. And like you realize, when we first see Yennefer to when we kind of catch up with present time, we've done some time jumps.
It's been a long time.
It's been a while. So what happened is they did this in a certain reason in the show in the first season in order to try to get all the major players kind of on the table at the same time. Mm-hmm. So they can really kind of establish this world. Well, Hissrich has gone on record saying that in the second season they're going to make some changes One of them is that because now they're kind of all on the table, they're not going to have to do anything really with moving time lines around and kind of manipulating time, which I think is a good thing.
Yes.
I actually didn't have a problem with that until I realized what was going on, and then I started piecing it together, and then when it all kind of clicked, I went, oh, okay, cool. This is an interesting way to take some big gaps in story and bring them together. But what Hisrick did say is that she felt that because they were trying to get so much into season 1 and trying to get so many characters and storylines to like line up in season 1, because they wanted to make sure it was a success. They wanted to make sure some of these big characters that are beloved from the books and beloved from the video games are all there, that there was a little bit of sacrifice in character development and the ability to like maybe really kind of roll out these stories in a richer, more complex way, even though I think they did a great job.
Right.
Hisrick herself says that she wants to be able to do some different things storytelling wise and like really let things develop going forward for a tighter, more focused story for these characters and give a new level of depth. And so I think we're going to see that happening in the second season. And I think that's a great thing because now obviously we know Netflix has got a big hit on their hands. People are going to buy in when the second season is going to come out. Even more people because of word of mouth and all the media. They're going to go watch the first one, and then they're going to get the second one, and then they're going to be like, oh, wow, this is really expanding on things. And I think that's a good thing. So I'm excited for season 2. I know it's probably still not till like late this year, 2020, but still.
I think they said 2021.
No, that's wrong. No, it can't be. No, it can't be.
I'm pretty sure. But, I only have one question. Spoilers for 5 seconds if no one has seen it and you care at all. Okay, waiting for you to stop listening. Is the Bard coming back? That was so mean.
Jaskier.
That was so mean. That's all. Okay, you can listen now, everybody. All right.
I don't know I don't know the answer to that.
I'm going to be pissed if he's not. All right. Moving on to things that frustrate me. Let's talk about Obi-Wan. Wow, Matt, why does that frustrate you? I know you're all thinking that. No, you're not, because you guys are all nerds like us and you already know what I'm talking about, and that's the Kenobi series has been delayed indefinitely. And there were rumors all over the past 2 weeks, I feel like, especially on Reddit, of the show being canceled completely, and rumors of trouble on set and rumors of scheduling issues with Ewan McGregor, all sorts of different things. And then it culminated to, wow, there's some substance to this, in that they were about to shoot it and then everybody was sent home and the show has been taken off the docket indefinitely until they get the story the way that Kathleen Kennedy has decided she wants the story to be told. And I say that because I'm starting to get frustrated with Kathleen Kennedy a little bit, because she's got her hands in too much Star Wars, in my opinion. And I get it if the story wasn't good. Hard for me to believe that it was bad. Well, I don't know how it gets that far along and then all of a sudden they're like, actually, never mind. Because it seems like it was pretty far along, that enough to where they were having people coming together to a location at Pinewood Studios in London, and then they sent everybody home. Seems odd.
So there's some conflicting things. So you'd sent me an article about Kathleen Kennedy and this being canceled indefinitely and this, that, and the other. And rightfully you were a little frustrated. But 2 days later, Ewan McGregor came out and made some statements. And he did say that it's not indefinitely canceled. We're just pushing back the shooting schedule a number of months, and that still, even with the shooting schedule being pushed back, it still would be on track to release at the original release date on Disney Plus, according to Ewan McGregor. Right. Now, take that with a grain of salt. That could or could not be true. So if that's the case, it still releases at the exact same time.
That's right.
Then the viewer's not gonna, like, the normal average viewer who doesn't follow this stuff like we do doesn't know anything.
Right.
If it gets bumped and it gets pushed back, then of course there's some frustration. Ewan McGregor also, I think Matt said that he looked at a bunch of the scripts and he thought like 90% of it looked good. So if 90% looked good but 10% didn't, here's what I think this is. I think this is the exact same thing that happened after the Solo movie did or underperformed according to Disney's expectations. Right. They immediately started looking at all Star Wars properties, things going forward. I mean, because originally this was supposed to be a movie, if you remember.
Yeah.
And then Solo underperformed, and they went, wait a minute, let's maybe move this to Disney Plus. Let's make it a series. We can spend less money on it, but still make, quality content. Here's the thing. This news comes out still while Rise of Skywalker is in the theaters in some places.
Right.
Rise of Skywalker is the lowest critically rated Star Wars film of any of the Star Wars films.
Right.
Any of them. That includes the prequels that had lots of problems.
Yep.
Now, fans give it a better score, but it's still, even according to fans, it's not near the top.
It's split as usual.
So anyway, I think with all of that, I think Kathleen Kennedy, Lucasfilm, Ltd., I just think that they're very hesitant in wanting to pull the trigger, and they want to feel like they've got it right. And I think when they did The Mandalorian, they had everything. They had it locked in. They knew what they were doing. They knew the storytelling method they were going to follow. And they went with it, and it was super successful. Mm-hmm. And for me, if the shooting schedule is delayed and it doesn't end up impacting the actual release schedule, what do I care?
Right.
Like, to me, it's not going to matter.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. If the shooting schedule gets delayed, if the release gets delayed, but if it means that we get a quality product, I'm okay. I mean, I'm this guy that like has 2 fantasy series of novels that I'm still waiting to be completed on. And in some cases, I've been waiting close to a decade for these to be completed. But I want it to be done well. And I don't want to see a rush job. I mean, look at Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones, that last season was rushed. It was thrown together. It felt like they didn't know what they were doing, how they were going to do it. And they just kind of threw something. They threw up a Hail Mary pass, and it was not a TD in the end zone.
I get that. I think it just comes down to the fact that I don't trust Kathleen Kennedy anymore. I just feel like she and Bob Iger have kind of frustrated me with Star Wars and kind of...
I think they're at odds. Honestly.
They're definitely at odds.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't know... I don't know who's going to go first. Obviously, Bob's retiring soon. We know that. But I get... Yeah. I'm just frustrated with Kathleen Kennedy, just kind of generally. I don't like what she did with the sequels. We kind of have talked about this. I like the sequels as movies individually by themselves, except for Rise of Skywalker. But I'm just not I mean, there are decisions that were made that I think were rash. And I'm bummed in a lot of different ways for Star Wars.
Yep.
I'm bummed that Solo underperformed because of the backlash from The Last Jedi, when I think Solo is a great movie. And I think there are really great stories to be told in that era of time. And I think Ron Howard and Lord Miller wanted those stories to continue, or else why would you tease Darth Maul? I mean, it's just there was so much potential there, and it got busted up because I feel like Bob Iger and Kathleen Kennedy have this overreaction complex where if they mess one thing up with Star Wars, oh my gosh, it's the end of the world. So look at George Lucas. He put out 3 crap films and we are still okay. And we were still excited for every single thing that comes out. Like, just calm down. Like, you're dealing with Star Wars fans. You're not going to please everyone. And when you try to please everyone, you put out something like Rise of Skywalker, which does please a lot of people, which pissed me off. So, like, Just make what you want to make. Let the creators create how they want to create in Star Wars. And I've seen rumors this week about George Lucas wanting to step back into Star Wars and take over some control of Star Wars, that he's voicing a little more frustration. These are just rumors as of now, and maybe there'll be an RI someday, Rebel Intelligence, but I don't know. I'm worried about Star Wars. I just am. I don't know what's going to happen next. They're not telling us anything. Nothing's on the docket. Things are getting canceled indefinitely. Ewan McGregor's playing the police of trying to calm everybody down. I don't trust him. How does he know when it's going to release? We don't know when it's going to release, so how would we know if it gets delayed or doesn't get delayed?
Just remember, though, Tom Holland played police between Marvel, the MCU, and Sony, and he got that marriage to come back together for a little while longer.
I agree.
So I'm just saying, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, and I totally get you, and I totally feel you. I just kind of look at this and say, there's still time before things really start getting pushed back on the schedule for release. And when that starts happening, then I might be a little more concerned. Yeah. I do think it's reactionary. I don't think you're wrong. I do think it's reactionary. I do think they want to have it right. But it doesn't help when Kathleen Kennedy makes a statement and then 2 days later Bob Iger comes out and contradicts her in a statement. None of that stuff
It's been the last 6 months.
Yeah.
These two
non-stop.
Going back and forth. You're like, oh gosh, just freaking figure it out. Sit down and have a conference call. Like, what? You're the two biggest, most important people. Get the three of you, Kevin Feige, Bob Iger, and Kathleen Kennedy. Just have a conference call once a week. So at least you're on the same freaking page. Now we're getting, I don't know.
Now imagine also if this gives an opportunity, because in my understanding, this was, getting ready to shoot. Kevin Feige probably didn't have much input in on this at all. But now if it's going to be delayed a bit and Kevin Feige can get in,
yeah,
that actually could be something to hang our hats on and say that could be really good, because then he'd have a chance to kind of help rework some things, help work on some scripts, and get to a place where later we're going to have more continuity that will tie back into the Obi-Wan series. Anyway, just an idea.
I agree. Just give me some hope. That's all I'm asking. Just give me some hope, Lucasfilm. Say something about it in a good light. I'm sick of directors being canned, scripts being leaked. I'm just sick of all this Star Wars drama. I just want good Star Wars to come out. That's all.
So let's jump over to something completely different. Let's give you a chance to get down off the soapbox and breathe a little. So, Universal Studios made a big announcement just recently. Now, we've known for a little while that they're creating some sort of new epic universe theme park in Orlando. Yep. And that they're going to be doing this over in Japan as well. They finally announced the intellectual property that they're going to be basing this off of. The land is called Super Nintendo World. And they've got a whole bunch of videos up and things so the first Super Nintendo World location is going to open this summer at Universal Studios Japan. Then it's going to be coming over to Orlando. The park is going to feature a Super Mario Kart ride, as well as a Yoshi's Adventure ride when it opens up. It's also it looks themed. It's all going to have kind of like a Mario Super Nintendo kind of feel to it. The interesting thing about this is that this is a new... So, we've got Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, right? And we know that the MCU is going to have some Marvel land that's going to be opening up at Disney. Universal has done Harry Potter, and that was a big kind of themed area. They were kind of the real first ones to kind of maybe not the first ones, because Disney's actually been doing this for a long time, but to take
just one big property,
one big intellectual property and use just that, right?
Yeah.
And so they've got this, and now they're going to be doing this. Obviously, we'll be seeing rides opening up, for the next number of years, and they'll add to this and grow this. I'm actually really excited by this because, for me, there's a lot of different things. If this is being called Super Nintendo World, obviously they're going to be highlighting Mario right up front, right?
Yes.
That's your poster boy.
Yep.
But that also does mean that there's opportunities to do other things from popular franchises inside of that Super Nintendo family down the road. And like, if you look at the colors, you look at the scheme, Harry Potter is for, I'm going to say, tweens and above.
Yeah.
Because like real young kids probably aren't reading Harry Potter yet. Some maybe,
Right.
but not wholesale. But like young kids get into like the Mario stuff. Like Charlie and Jackson play Mario Party. They know who Mario is. They know who Luigi is.
Yep.
Bright colors. It's like, my boys would love this. So really exciting. I mean, we've known that Universal's doing something big for a while, but now they've come out and they've said Super Nintendo World coming to Japan, coming to Florida later this year. So
Yeah, so for me, again, a big Nintendo fan, I've known this for about a year, I want to say. So this announcement is that it's coming to Epic Universe in 2023.
Yep.
That's like the big thing, because it's opening this summer in Japan.
Right.
So we've seen pictures of what it's going to look like, and it looks really, really fun. And there's a whole bunch of other information about it. It's somehow going to be interactive with your like Nintendo Switch,
Right.
and a wristband that you're going to get,
Yep.
and your My Nintendo account, and somehow there's going to be some way to interact with all of that, which is really cool. We don't have any idea how that's going to work yet, but they're really going after the theming hardcore. And when you look at the concept art, you're like, whoa, this is like I'm stepping into Mario. I don't understand. Like, I can't wrap my head around it. I mean, you've got like Peach's Castle and Bowser, and like it looks really fun.
Looks good.
And then the concept art, like you mentioned, there's Donkey Kong. There's going to be a Donkey Kong area in Japan, at least. So we know that there are going to be other properties, and you got to know that eventually Zelda's going to come.
Oh, I hope
And
so.
the coolness of that, I mean, I don't know what a Mario Kart ride's going to be like, but I know it's going to be freaking awesome. Like, it all sounds just so fun. And they're doing it, they're kind of pulling a Disney, where I think Universal generally, I think, is for teenagers and older.
Right.
I took Emmy when we went right before the cruise last year. We went and did Harry Potter stuff, and we tried to do stuff with Emmy. There's just not a lot to do. Even though the little Dr. Seuss land, there's nothing Emmy can ride. I'm like, where's Disneyland? Emmy can ride anything.
Right.
That drop on Pirates, yeah, sure, throw the kids on, but not at
Yeah.
Universal. They can't go on the freaking Cat in the Hat ride. I was just so frustrated.
That was the reason why we didn't do Harry Potter when we went down, is because I went, what are we going to do with the boys? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to pay all that money for them not to be able to do anything. They're going to be bored.
Yep.
We're not going to be able to experience Harry Potter.
Yep. So they're taking a step in the direction of, well, let's make something that's fun for everyone. And this is something that kids and adults of all ages are going to enjoy. I mean, everybody knows Mario. Everybody loves Mario. It's just a fun, bright, colorful world that you can have fun in. So I'm stoked for this. I can't wait. So it's still quite a ways out. But we'll get to see a good look at it when it's in Japan this summer, and we'll get an idea of what the ride vehicles are going to be like and what the theming is like, and it's going to be fun. So
Yeah,
that's
looks
That's a
cool.
good one. That's a good one. Way to end on a good, happy note. Unless you have one more.
Are you out?
I am out.
I have one more.
Oh, yes, you do.
And I saved the best for last.
More exciting.
So I wanted to build you up a little bit there. And now I'm going to knock your socks off. Well, maybe not you, but for me, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Massive rumor time. But this rumor has picked up steam
Everywhere.
everywhere.
Yeah, totally.
Which means to me, this is a calculated leak. I have said for a long time that the Knights of the Old Republic, the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, was one of my favorite video games. It tells an amazing story, and that this needs to be made into a movie. We heard that possibly Lindelof and DB Wise and
Oh, yeah.
the guys
Benioff,
from
whatever.
Benioff. Benioff, Lindelof, close, not the same. Benioff and Wise, the guys
They're
that did Game of
canceled, who
Thrones.
cares?
We're going to get a trilogy. They talked possibly it could be like a Knights of the Old Republic. Well, after just like literally, what is that, 2 weeks ago, you and I talked about this idea of like integrating, like starting with a video game and then going to a movie. The big rumor right now is that EA is underway to do a remake of the Knights of the Old Republic game that's going to integrate elements from the first two games, Knights of the Old Republic and Knights of the Old Republic 2, bring them into a single game and make them current Star Wars canon. Halla freaking hallelujah! Knights of the Old Republic came out in 2003. It's a classic. Everyone wants this thing. They're saying, the rumors are saying, the second source is saying that it's a remake, but it's also kind of a sequel. It's going to set stuff up. Like I said, they're going to take from the two. Kathleen Kennedy in the past has says that Lucasfilm was developing something Knights of the Old Republic related. Like I said, we had links to a possible film that was talked about.
Right.
There was talk about a Knights of the Old Republic 3, but that game got canceled a little while ago. And basically, it's looking like what we're going to get is this video game remastered, rebooted, pulled together with the story from the originals. I love this, Matt. To me, this is the way to go about bringing in more Star Wars content into feeding the Star Wars beast.
Yeah.
You don't have to go back and have characters we know. You go back 4,000 years. You tell a completely different thing. You still have Sith. You still have Jedi. You still have the Republic, even though it's kind of a different form than it was that we've seen.
Right.
You're still going to have similar familiar planets and settings, and you can do musical cues and sound effects and all these things, but you can develop completely different characters and have your own thing to do. And I'm excited. I'm excited that this looks like it's going to become a real thing. I thought about replaying the video game. I thought about getting it on Steam and replaying it. But now I may wait and see because if I can play this new hotness version of it.
Yeah.
Why go back to the 2003 game when potentially in like 2021 maybe, I'm going to say?
Yeah.
22? I mean, it all depends on how far into development this is.
Right.
But
do you think this is in any way a hint to where this rumor we talked about 2 weeks ago, do you think that this video game or this era plays into the next series of films? Or do you think this is just going to be a video game one-off, like enjoy it? Or do you think this is the game that they were referring to?
that's a tough call. I hope that this is the thing they were alluding to, because if you go back 4,000 years and you tell this story and you redo these video games, and then you pick up where the video games leave off with some of the characters in the story, you could easily do some movies at that time period and go forward. And you could flash back and tell a little bit of backstory of what happened without having to go whole hog and dive into it. And if you play the game, it just further complements what's going to happen on the screen. That could happen. I hope so. I hope so. Is there a possibility it has nothing to do with it? Absolutely.
Right. Yep. I don't know. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for any new Star Wars game now. I always get hesitant just because it's EA.
Yeah.
If they're like, Respawn is doing, I'm like, yes, I am in.
And I had a conversation with my brother because he finished Jedi Fallen Order just the other day. He said he really loved the story, thought it was a real fun game. He said, but the game had some technical issues, glitches, bugs,
Definitely.
little things. And I hope that if Respawn is doing this, which it won't, it'll be BioWare because BioWare did the original game, but I hope they take time to polish this game up quite a bit so there's not the amount of glitches and bugs and technical issues that Fallen Order had. It was never experience breaking for me, but there was times where I was like, okay, like I just walked through a wall. I'm not supposed to be walking through this wall.
Right.
You know, oh, hey, the little landing pad I'm supposed to be landing on while I'm sliding down this little rock slide is glitched out, and now I just keep dropping to my death over and over and over again, and I had like turn the game completely off and reload it.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that. Like Those aren't good. Now, for me, most of the glitches happen after I beat the game and beat the story.
Same for me.
So I was like, okay.
Right.
Not too bad, because I was trophy hunting at that point.
Very interesting. I'm excited. Always excited to talk about anything Star Wars. So that is a great way to end.
I agree. I liked it. All right, Matt. So last week, we talked about the passing of Christopher Tolkien and kind of the end of Middle-earth.
Yeah.
And we didn't ask a question specifically about that, but we asked for the Super Friends to ask us questions. And I got a couple. And we're not going to have time to go through all of them, but a couple that I thought would be kind of fun or silly that I thought we'd read. So let's start over on the email, fortofnerd@gmail.com, and we have Peter Christensen. He says, Dear Nerds, I own all of those TV series you guys mentioned. Talk about the comedies we were mentioning.
Yes.
But on iTunes, not DVD. If you use iTunes for purchases, there's an app called Cheap Charts that tracks all of the price changes in the iTunes store and can alert you when items on your wish list drop in price. So, because of patience and this app, I've never paid more than $30 for any complete series of a TV show.
What?
That's pretty good to know. He says, I didn't grow up reading any of Tolkien's books. Keeping with my Burger King pattern of missing the popular content, see Willow vs. Star Wars vs. Dungeons & Dragons, my fantasy books of choice were the Dragonlance series. I read the Lord of the Rings books as an adult, but my formative period was over. He says, you make a case based on the Lord of the Rings movies versus the Hobbit trilogy and Game of the Thrones seasons 1 through 7 versus season 8 that a consistent, fleshed out world and a battle-tested story is just as necessary for fantasy movies as cool swords and digital magic. There's a tendency to knock on Hollywood for remaking Robin Hood, The Musketeers, King Arthur, etc., but those stories are not only familiar, they resonate with our humanity. Lord of the Rings feels like those timeless tales, so it's weird to think that it's from the copyright era as opposed to those older public domain stories. While I think those movies are historically great and will stand the test of time, I wouldn't mind seeing a remake for a new generation in 10 to 20 years. I haven't read any of Christopher Tolkien's works, but I couldn't think of another writer who was the child of a famous writer, especially not one so unique as J.R.R. Tolkien. Creative work like that is much more difficult family business to continue. I did enjoy last year's biopic Tolkien, starring Nicholas Hoult. It was a look into his life that new to me and a creative way to show how his life experiences influenced his writing. Cheers, Peter Christensen. So Peter really didn't ask us a question, but that's okay.
That's okay. Thanks, Peter. Always appreciate the commentary, the input, etc.
A lot of great things. And it is interesting, too, that he does mention, like, you know, because I do say, like, I get so tired of, like, some of, like, the Disney reboots and remakes. But then again, things like Robin Hood and King Arthur, like, those stories that are in the public domain, I mean, those continue to get remade. And, like...
Right.
I'm always kind of down for, like, a really good Robin Hood.
I was going to... You know, he said that, and I was thinking, boy... Robin Hood's never been done right. I just don't. I do not think there's two good Robin Hood movies for me. It's the animated Robin Hood.
Okay.
Fantastic. One of my favorite movies. And it's Robin Hood Men in Tights. Those are the two good Robin Hood movies for me.
You didn't like Kevin Costner's Robin Hood?
I didn't like Kevin Costner's. Hated
Russell Crowe's.
Gah, couldn't stand it. I'm waiting for a good Robin Hood.
Did you ever see the Robin Hood series that I believe was on the BBC?
No.
Yeah, it was on Netflix for a while. You should look and see if it's on Netflix or maybe it's on Prime Video. Okay. That was pretty good. Breed and I watched it like a number of years ago, and we liked that. Okay, so guilty pleasure. I love the Kevin Costner Robin Hood movie, but that also came out in like 91. I was like 12 years old at the time. Like, I remember watching it in junior high, and then like even into high school at like friends' houses, like when like parties were going on. They're like, let's watch something. It was either like Robin Hood or Pretty Woman or Ghost or Speed.
Ghost?
I swear, like those 4 movies, maybe also Dirty Dancing. But it was like,
oh my gosh.
we always go over to these houses of some of these girls, and they always had these movies. And so I felt like there was like these 5 movies that like I saw throughout high school, like ad nauseum. And there's, for me and Steve, my buddy Steve, the former co-host here, we probably watched Robin Hood, the Kevin Costner Robin Hood, a lot, and we can quote quite a lot of that movie. Plus, man, the love ballad, Bryan Adams, it's Bryan Adams, the Canadian, Rod Stewart, and I can see his face. Oh, it's the 3 of them.
I'm sure it is the 3 of them.
Dang it.
And I'm sure it's just as epic as you remember it being. I'm just not... I'm ready for a good Robin Hood. I'm not saying don't make it again. I'm saying make it and make it good. That's all. Because it's a good story. And I just don't think anything's going to top the animated Robin Hood. Love it.
Okay.
Love it.
I've got to look that up now because it's driving me nuts. Because I was like, I know who did this. I've seen it. I'm gonna look it up because I've got to. Like, it's gonna kill me if I can't think of it.
That's okay.
Maybe it just is Bryan Adams. But I thought, you know what? I know what I think. I'm getting confused. I think that just is Bryan Adams. Everything I do it for you.
Right.
But I think I'm also in my mind confusing that song with the song from the Three Musketeers.
Oh.
No, no. the Three Musketeers song that no, I don't think of that one.
Oh man.
I'm like All for Love. I think that's the one. I think that's Bryan Adams, Rod Stewart, and Sting. That's what I was thinking of.
Okay.
All right, well, Super Friends, that's a little rabbit hole down some Bryan Adams related music from like the late 80s, early 90s.
So happy. I think it was worth it to everyone. Everybody was really happy you did that.
One for all.
Yep. We're all pleased. All
right.
Pleased.
Let's go over to Twitter. We got some questions. So, over on Twitter, Fort of Nerd, or at Fort of Nerd, we've got Bernabe, my back, butter teeth, at Dantes_Belmont. He says, tell us a funny story that happened recently. Did your kid do something weird? Did you forget to feed the dog? Did he eat the couch? So tell me a funny. There's more, but okay. I figure let's take it. Bit.
I
bit
got
by
a good
bit
one.
here.
I got a good one before I forget. And I recorded this and I sent it to the family group text that you're not on. I probably should just send it to you individually. So we try to stay politically neutral in my house, as politically neutral as we can.
Okay.
When talking with other people, in particular. So anyway, I had my phone out and I was just talking to Emmy and I said, Emmy, do you love Donald Trump? She goes, I do not love Donald Trump. Donald Trump is really, really, really yucky. And I was recording video. It was the funniest thing that she doesn't know anything about Donald Trump. And we don't talk about Donald Trump being yucky. Emmy was just in a mood and we were recording her because she was in a mood. Yeah. So anyway, that was probably the funniest thing that she's said recently. So anyway, that was a funny story that happened like this week. It happened like 4 days ago.
Nice. So about 2 weeks ago, this happened. Jackson, my youngest, who's 5, he'll turn 6 in April. Sometimes this kid's a little ham. I mean, he acts it up. I mean, he's very expressive, very emotive. Like, he used to be super, super shy. Like, if you were around him, like, he would hide from people. If you made direct eye contact with him, like, he would run and hide. Now you can't get the kid to stop talking. And he's always goofing around and doing stuff. I don't know where he gets it. But he has this weird, like, issue with, like, his shoes. If his shoes are too tight, if they don't fit right, if his socks are too tight, or if the little part where, like, the toe comes together on the inside, if it's not just right, it bugs him. And so he freaks out about this. And, like, we've had way too many meltdowns over, like, socks and shoes not fitting right. And he says, Daddy, this is like this morning before work. Daddy. I said, what? He says, Daddy, I was worried that these shoes were going to be tight, but then I put my feet in them, and then I stood up and I wiggled my toes a little bit, and it fit perfectly. It was a miracle of Jesus Christ. And it was that pause that just had me going. It was a miracle.
Oh my gosh.
Of Jesus Christ. Oh my goodness. I mean, and the funny thing was, like, he wasn't saying it trying to be funny. It was perfect deadpan. Like, he literally, so apparently,
childlike faith.
Apparently our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ came to earth, broke bread and fish and fed 5,000 people. He healed the blind. He caused the lame to walk. And he made shoes comfortable for you and me.
Hey, why not? I say why not? Maybe his faith made those shoes perfect. Good job, Jackson. Way to bend the will of God.
It was wow.
That's great. That is great. Good story. Good question.
All
Thanks,
right.
Butterteeth.
Bernabé Butterteeth also says, on a different topic, are you bringing ribs to MTTG 400? Considering, Bernabé, that I'm going to be flying across the country, probably not. Also, I don't think you're allowed to bring, well, maybe you can bring food from outside in, like, in a bag or something, like snacks. But in order for me to do ribs, like, I'd have to, like, cook them. I'd have to wrap them in foil to keep them hot, wrap those in towels, put them in a big cooler. I just don't think. Now, however, if the house we're renting that weekend has a smoker or has some sort of grill, I might be persuaded to have us all chip in, buy some ribs, and we'll smoke up some ribs ourselves.
Nice.
So, and then the last thing he says, how are the New Year's goals going? So, Matt, how are your New Year's resolutions, your New Year's goals going so far?
Oh, gosh. Great. Some really, really great. Some just great. They're going good still.
Yeah, mine too.
They're going good.
I'm not going as fast on my goals as I would like necessarily, but I'm still moving in the right direction, and that has me happy. And
that's what you need, man.
And that's what I need. So yeah.
Love it.
All right, Nate Engberg says, here's a question and a recommendation. Have you watched Corner Gas?
I've never heard of it, so the answer is no.
I had never heard of it either, Matt. And I figured you probably hadn't. So I thought I'd look it up and tell you what it is. Corner Gas is a Canadian television sitcom that ran from 2004 to 2009. Reruns still air on CTV, CTV2, and the Comedy Network. It's also streaming on Amazon Prime, which is probably the only way I'd be able to see it. But basically, the whole idea of Corner Gas is that there's a comedian who wrote it, Brent Butt, and he's from Saskatchewan. There's a fictional town he created called Dog River, and basically the Corner Gas is the only gas station for 60 kilometers, or 37 miles to you and me, in any direction. And there's the owner of the gas station, there's like a convenience store, a retail assistant there, an adjoining coffee shop, and the owner of that. And basically it's just about like these people that kind of like hang out in rural Saskatchewan and just kind of congregate at the gas station / coffee place. And it ran, like I said, from 2004 to 2009. It got a movie. They got a limited theatrical run in December of 2014, and apparently it's being been adapted in 2016 into an animated show.
What?
That premiered back in 2018. And it featured all the original voice actors except for one lady who died. Corner Gas. Never heard of it.
You know, Canada and America are not the same. I'm learning. I had never heard of this show, and yet it gets like 6 seasons in a movie. Hi.
Right?
6 seasons in a movie. Still waiting on that movie. Okay, Corner Gas. I already looked it up. I'm interested. I will probably give it a try.
Yeah, it was when I got that recommendation, I kind of went, huh. Never heard of this.
Always in the market for a new good comedy.
Yep. All right. Let's we don't have anything on Facebook, but we do have something on Instagram.
Go.
Someone by the name of Dantes_Belmont. Mr. Butterteeth, you hitting us up on 2 different places to get as many questions in this week as you possibly can. I like your smile. I like your style, sir.
Oh, and his smile.
And his smile.
You can like his smile. There's nothing wrong with that.
I mean, his teeth are made of butter, but sure, whatever.
Yeah.
So, he says, create your own Fellowship of the Ring, swapping characters one to one from each other's franchises. Why you choose them is your fellowship bound. So Matt, I think the idea is,
holy cow, what?
we're gonna pick 9 people to be our Fellowship of the Ring, and we can choose them from other franchises. So you pick one, then I pick one, then you pick one, then I pick one.
We need to have this be a discussion. This is gonna take all night.
Well, let's toss out some ideas because we got to fill it out, man. We were asked a question by a super friend, and
okay.
we're darndest we're gonna try to answer this.
Okay. Wow. Who? So 1-to-1. So I'm supposed to pick who would be Merry and who would be Pippin, and they're supposed to match up in some way. Personality wise.
Says swapping characters 1-to-1 from other franchises. Maybe we just you pick one, then I pick one.
I would say Obi-Wan is Gandalf. Ooh. That's what I would choose.
Ooh, Obi-Wan is Gandalf. Nice.
Just because the Force Ghost thing, there's some parallels there, I feel like. Either that, maybe Aslan, if you're allowed to do that, Gandalf and Aslan.
Yeah, let's stick with Obi-Wan as And
then
oh man. I'm going to pick Tony Stark as Boromir.
Oh.
Because at the end of the day, he's going to want to be able to use the power to defend his people and save his people because that's super important to him.
Okay, that's a great reason. Good grief. I have no idea where to go from here, so let's just keep going.
How about I'm going to just make things really silly here. I'm going to choose Scooby-Doo for Gollum. Because
how dare you?
Okay, actually the Fellowship of the Ring. So Gollum's not part of the Fellowship. Dang.
No.
I was just thinking Scooby-Doo is ridiculous and silly and kind of so is Smeagol. But that doesn't work. Oh gosh.
I will go with Coach Taylor calls him Lance.
Landry
is Sam.
Landry's
Sam.
Just
a quality friend.
Okay.
Who will always be there. He'll cover up a murder. I mean, he'll do whatever it takes.
Okay.
For his friends.
Oh, man.
Landry Clark, that's right.
Landry Clark, yeah. Oh gosh. I'm gonna go with a Link for Legolas.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. I mean, wow, we're spanning every possible genre
Link for
ever
Legolas.
known. That's a good one. Okay.
Oh, how about Michael Jordan for Frodo? Because we need someone's got the skills who can shoot that jumper and get that ring into Mount Doom.
Okay, the ring. He does have a lot of rings.
That's right.
So He's very powerful too. Okay. Michael Jordan and Landry Clark on their way to Mordor. That's gonna make an interesting film.
Oh.
I don't know. Merry and Pippin are like Beavis and Butthead. I have no idea.
No, that's perfect. Beavis and Butthead. Yep. Oh gosh. Let's see here.
Aragorn is tough because how do you pick a perfect person?
Can I say that I want Hagrid to be freaking Gimli?
Yes, Hagrid and Gimli, that's perfect.
Yep.
That's perfect.
Yep.
That's a good one. And Aragorn can only be Aragorn. There is no other Aragorn. I just can't see it.
No. Oh, no. Oh, no, we're going to get crazy with this. Aragorn is Nicolas Cage's character.
No, already wrong.
Benjamin Franklin Gates from National Treasure.
Oh my fetch. This is so offensive. I'm retiring from the podcast.
Oh.
Nicolas Cage. Okay, fine.
Okay.
Good job.
I think that's our fellowship. Balanced, I mean,
it's a good one.
We got some athletic skill, we've got some
powerful.
We've got some comedy, we've got some strength, some size. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I love it. Bernabe, thank you for that. That actually was a lot of fun to try to figure out. Super Friends, we appreciate the questions that were given to us this week. We didn't kind of go through all of them, but we did take a few of them we thought would be good. We really do look forward to interacting with you, the Super Friends, each and every week. It is one of our favorite parts. Matt, now that we've kind of got through this part, what can the Super Friends do for us? How can they help?
So as usual, Super Friends, tell your friends, tell your family about us, listen to us, do what you always do every week, because that's what Super Friends do. We're there for each other. In addition to that, this week, we're going to stick with the sentimental that we've been with. Send a text message to a blood relative. If you don't have any blood relatives, send a text message to someone you would consider to be a blood relative. Tell them either that you love them or give them a compliment and tell them why you appreciate them. That's the challenge this week.
Nice.
That's it.
Matt, there was something we didn't actually kind of talk about during Rebel Intelligence, but it kind of fit in with what we kind of wanted to talk about for our discussion this week. So I'll kick off the Rebel Intelligence item that we moved to the discussion. So we talked a little bit about reboots, remakes. Disney has been going through their back catalog, taking classic films like Aladdin, Lion King, Jungle Book, and remaking. They're going to do it with Mulan, and they're doing a live-action remake of a lot of their animated films. Well, they're going back to the early days now. They're going all the way back to Bambi. So,
just what we've been asking for.
Because everyone loves Bambi. Everyone loves Thumper. And for some reason, we want to see Bambi's mother get shot again.
Can't wait.
We want to relive that trauma.
Yes.
I mean, you go back, and so this is kind of like what kind of kicked off some of this conversation you and I were kind of having, and that we'll have tonight, is that there's certain things that are really traumatic and can be really traumatic in children's movies that as an adult you maybe don't necessarily see or pick up on as much, or it's easy to forget and overlook. You go all the way back to Bambi. I mean, Bambi was 1942. And right in the beginning of that film, Bambi and his mother are in that little area, and there's some summer grass or spring grass that's poking up through. Bambi's mom gets freaked, tells Bambi to run. She's running. All of a sudden, you hear this gunshot ring out. And then the next thing you know, Bambi's calling for his mother. Calling and calling and calling. And doesn't know where his mother is. And it starts snowing, and it's sad and it's depressing. And then his father just shows up out of the blue and is like, "Boy, your mother's not here anymore. Come with me." seriously, it's the beginning of God of War. That's Bambi. It's brutal. Yeah. I mean, it's just brutal. And so, Matt, you came up with this idea that you thought it'd be fun or interesting or therapeutic. I don't know what.
Yeah. It's my psychology degree coming through.
Right. To talk about movies that were traumatic for us or maybe our kids or just children in general, and kind of talk about some of these things that are in movies that are meant to be for kids.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be a common theme with Disney in a lot of this, because Disney is a kids type of franchise, or not franchise, it's a studio. But good gosh, come on. So my first one, this is the first movie I remember seeing in theaters, and that is The Lion King.
Ooh, yes.
This one is I'll say this. So I've got a list of things that were traumatic for me and a list of things that were traumatic for Emmy, that as I'm watching her watch these movies for the first time. And she and I share this in common here, The Lion King. The reason The Lion King for me was so traumatic is in most of the Disney movies, the mom or the dad or both usually die at the beginning, and there's not a whole lot of exposition about the relationship.
A lot of orphans.
In The Lion King, it's like the first third of the movie is Simba and Mufasa and their relationship.
Yeah.
That it's fun, that it's playful, that they love each other, but that he's grooming him to be a king, and there's a trust and a love and the discipline of, when he goes to the elephant graveyard and protecting him and all that stuff, right? We could get into it.
Yeah.
But that's why I think this one is so traumatic, is because, it's not like, another dad died. It's Mufasa died, like his dad that he loved, and he was betrayed by his own brother. You're like, what the
Yeah. The uncle plots to overthrow his brother.
His brother. And kills him.
Yeah. And not only that, but it's that moment when Simba comes back and he finds his dad's body. He's like, Dad, wake up, Dad, wake up. That is, as an adult now, especially as an adult who has children, like, it affects me different now than it did when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I was like, oh, that's so sad. Now I'm like,
yep.
Like I tear up a little bit and I have to hold it in. I'm like, good heavens. Like, this is deep. This is serious, and this is heavy. And I do think that kids can understand death. And I think that you could, like, my kids, I was worried about showing them Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, because in that you see that a Spider-Man dies in the beginning. Yeah. And then, all the different kind of versions and all the things. And I was kind of concerned because it's also about the death of, Kingpin's family and this and that. And he's trying to bring him back. And like, they kind of got it. Like, they kind of just understood. But it was kind of in a way, like, done off screen, this, that, and the other. Like, The Lion King is straight up just violent murdering of Mufasa right there.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. So there's complex themes with it, obviously, that Emmy doesn't pick up on. And does she know what brother really means yet?
Right.
That Scar. but she definitely understands the death. Every time she gets emotional, she's like, no, Simba's daddy, Dad. And she's like, Dad, Simba's daddy, Dad. She knows about death.
Just wait till she understands the real concept of brother, and then she starts worrying about Lando betraying her.
Lando's going to kill Dad.
He wants all of Dad's stuff.
Oh my gosh. So that was the initial, immediate when we're going to talk about childhood traumas, because that's one that I share with my daughter that she's traumatized by. It was the first movie I remember seeing as a kid, and it's still impactful.
Yep.
Makes for a great story.
Do you remember, or have you ever seen The Neverending Story?
Yes.
Okay. I remember that movie, and I remember it was like, it's a fantasy movie as a kid, and I remember, but like, the scene where they're in the swamps of sorrows, and Atreyu's riding his horse, Artax, and like, he's trying to lead him through the swamps, and then eventually, like, the horse, like, starts like sinking and starts like screaming, and the boy's screaming at the horse is like, Artax, stupid horse. And like, you're slowly watching, because like he's given into the darkness and whatever. Like, you watch this horse like sink slower and lower, and eventually like it's just submerged and gone. And his horse dies, and like, you kind of get the sense, and I'm not like a big pet guy necessarily. I'm not a big horse guy, but like, that was sad. And I think it was because like, for me, when I remember watching that, the horse Artax was like, it's Atreyu's, like, I don't know, like Link. It's like, it's more than just like how we got along. Like, it was his companion on this journey. And like, now he had to slowly watch his companion sink to his death. And now he's alone, absolutely alone and on his own. And like, I remember that being like rough to watch as a kid.
Yes, I know. I remember what you're talking about. I haven't seen that movie in a very, very, very long time, but I still remember that scene.
Yep.
And the Neverending Story is an interesting thing. Just in again, I haven't watched it in a long time, but in the clips that I've seen, I'm like, man, this is a weird freaking movie. This was so popular. It's so sweeping. Anyway.
Yeah.
The rest of my list is more like just things that impacted me when I was a kid, and either I was scared of it. Probably I was scared of it. Mostly is what we're going to get at here. Kids movies. The next one I'm going to go to is Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Ooh, Large Marge, right?
Holy freaking crap!
Yes.
What?
Tell him Large Marge sent you.
Are you kidding me? Like, this clearly a kid's movie. Pee-wee Herman is so silly and ridiculous. And you're like, this is a playful movie. But then even as a kid, there is this sense of Tim Burton-y about it.
Yeah.
When you watch as an adult, you can pick up on it. But even as a kid, I felt uneasy with the movie. I loved it. I watched it a lot. It was one of my favorite movies. But I think it's because the feeling of being unsettled, I've always love-hated, which is why I like the horror stuff and these movies that make me feel a little unsettled. And Pee-wee's Big Adventure was the first movie I remember being unsettled. The way that the music worked. Large Marge being kind of the climax of just scary. But then there's parts where everyone's laughing at him. The clown is all chained up and the bike is gone. And it's just like there's all of this stimulation coming at him. And as a kid, I was disoriented. I was terrified. That scene, even more than Large Marge, when he steps out, I think it's like out of the magic shop or something, and he steps out and the bike's gone. Right. And the clown and the music and the laughing and just like, oh my gosh, I am terrified. This is so unsettling. I will always remember that. I see it. I feel it right now.
There are some great scenes in Texas, though, Matt.
Yes, the Alamo. I've been to many filming locations many times. So many times have I been to that filming location.
Have you been to the basement, though, of the Alamo?
That's another part where they just make fun of the poor guy. He doesn't know any better. There's no basement in the Alamo.
So here's the thing. I've noticed, like, as I've been kind of like going through some of these lists and looking back at ones that I knew kind of messed me up a little bit or traumatized me or that I struggled with, a lot of them are like The Lion King or Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Like, there's a lot of like fun. There's a lot of like, good times. And then things turn weird or scary. But I've got one that I swear is like not fun, is not anything like anything wholesome. It feels like it's just weird and creepy and scary pretty much through the entire movie. And I do not recommend you ever show it to any of your kids. Return to Oz. Do not watch that. It's weird. You got creeping floating heads with this, what's her name? Mimsy, this like witch or not Madam Mim, but like Mimsy or Mombi or Mombi or anyway, the Wheelers terrified me as a kid. I mean, I hated it when they came on. The Jack is all weird. He's got this big pumpkin head. It's everything TikTok. I mean, I know you're looking at it now because I can tell by your face. I'm looking
at pictures going, oh my gosh, what is this movie?
It's a 1980 sequel to The Wizard
Oh
of
my
Oz.
gosh.
And I asked Brita, and Brita said, like, for her, The Wizard of Oz, The Witch and the Flying Monkeys was hard, but, like, Return to Oz is, like, straight up, like, scary. It's terrifying. It's jarring.
Oh my gosh. I literally am. There's like GIFs, however you want to pronounce it, of awful things happening. What in the world? I will never watch that. At 31 years old, I won't sleep tonight. No.
It's a movie as an adult you can watch, but do not show this to Emmy or Lando.
No, I would never.
But the thing is,
would I?
Right. It was a kid's movie. It was a family movie.
Yeah, right.
It's creepy. It's just so freaking creepy.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay, yeah, that would impact me. I'll stick on things that legitimately terrified me. And this one you'll laugh at. Maybe you won't. I think that this is universally understood. So, this is a sequel to one of our favorite movies.
Okay.
And that is Ghostbusters 2.
Ugh.
This movie scared the living crap out of me as a little kid.
Vigo the Carpathian.
Yeah, that whole entire story is so creepy. The first one's like fun, and there's lots of comedy, and it's way better. There's no doubt about it. However, the sequel is just scary to me. Even still, it's just scary. It's scarier. And the pink stuff, yeah, it's scary because it comes out and like the ooze, and I get that. But it's all about the little teeny tiny baby helplessly being carried away in their baby carriage, like by a building and flying and stolen by this spirit. And I was so absolutely terrified and very affected by that movie. Another one of those movies that I watched a lot as a kid. I probably watched Ghostbusters 2 more than I watched Ghostbusters 1. And I think that it's because I liked this unsettling feeling. And that movie, very unsettling. I still can't look at that painting just generally without it moving, without feeling very uneasy.
Yep.
Just like, ooh. Or the actor who plays the artist, I'm like, ooh, I'm going to throw up because this is making me so uncomfortable.
I understand that. Vigo, I mean, I haven't watched that. I probably haven't watched that movie in a long time. But it's like Vigo the Carpathian. Like it's etched into my brain because I remember how creepy that was.
So creepy.
I have another one. It's not necessarily like a kids movie. I don't think Ghostbusters 2 is a kids movie. I'd say it's more a family movie, right?
Yeah, totally.
Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Oh, good gosh. I'm taking off my headphones and walking away.
I'm just like, Raiders of the Lost Ark had the face melting scene at the end that was scary, right?
So scary. Yeah, totally.
But like the whole movie kind of had this tone to it. But for some reason, I'm like, ooh, there's a sequel, Temple of Doom, that actually supposed to take place before Raiders. And like, next thing you know, like they're eating out of like monkey brains out of skulls. And this guy's trying to perform this ritual where he like pulls the heart out of people. And I was like, I even as an adult now, even though like I know it's fake, I know how they make it, like I know all the movie stuff behind it. To me, it's still one of the ones that like I have such a hard time rewatching that one because it's so dark compared to of the original trilogy. It's so dark compared to Raiders and The Last Crusade.
Oh my gosh.
It's so like weird. Like human sacrifices. Just like it's
incredibly dark. I rewatched it I think a year ago. I rewatched the whole trilogy a year ago by myself. I was working while I was watching it, and I hadn't seen Temple of Doom in a very long time, and I remember my mom not allowing me to watch Temple of Doom, and I was like, well, that's stupid because I can watch Raiders of the Lost Ark and I can watch The Last Crusade. Why can't I watch a Temple of Doom?
Yep.
And now I'm understanding that a little bit more, because it's not the fun scary. It's just like the evil scary.
Yep.
Like there's the fun scary of Jurassic Park, which my mom always let me watch from when I was young, or Jurassic Park Lost Road when they're ripping the dude in half with the 2 T-Rexes. Yeah, give me more of that. But once you start talking about human sacrifices and like the devil stuff and ripping hearts out and like people like not, I mean, it is
that's a different
downright
level.
Terrifying.
Yep.
That is, Yeah, and you're right. As an adult, that's traumatizing still. Like you've brought me back to the space I was in a year ago, and I was 30 at the time, and I'm so scared.
Yep.
The last one that I have for me when I was a kid, this is not a popular movie, and so I do not expect anybody here to have seen this movie. But there was a movie made, I want to say it was like 1990. Let's actually find out. It was made in 1991. And I rented it over and over and over and over again as a kid from Blockbuster or Hollywood Video, whatever was closest. And this movie is called Rock-a-Doodle.
What?
Rock-a-Doodle.
I remember that movie. I don't remember it being scary, but...
It is... Watch it again, my friend.
Okay.
It is absolutely terrifying. It starts out as like live action, and it's about this little boy, and his family doesn't treat him right. Sounds like Home Alone. But anyway, long story short, he gets zapped into this animated story. And there are so many terrifying moments in this movie of real peril and like dark organ music being played in a like really big scary hall by this owl who is trying to basically kill the protagonist, who's been buried in the ground and his voice has been taken away. And anyway, long story short, that movie really, really, really scared me. But it was one of those ones I rented a lot because I liked the scariness, but it was very, very scary. So if you're just in the mood for a quick, 90-minute movie, animated movie, and you're bored, Rock-a-Doodle is a decent way to go because it's a decent movie. It has kind of a fun story. I mean, it's basically the story of Elvis Presley, but he's a rooster.
Yeah.
And he gets his voice taken away by this terror. Anyway, that movie freaked me out.
I remember my sisters watching it a lot. I don't ever remember watching it. But my last movie that terrified me in parts. However, I watched this movie like over and over and over again.
Okay.
We'd go to my grandmother's house. And in my grandmother's house, she had a TV in the basement where it's just where the kids always stayed. And she had like literally 4 movies that we could watch, that the kids could watch on VHS tapes.
Yep.
Star Wars: A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Okay.
Now, Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Yeek.
It's a fun, like, I love the movie. Like, the nostalgia, it's got a lot of fun. It's got actually a lot of really great comedy. But there's some adult themes.
Oh, yes.
Jessica Rabbit is probably as much to blame for my desire to get interested in girls at an early age as almost anything else.
Sure.
But what was always really kind of scary was when the first time Judge Doom comes and he basically murders those like pair of like, cartoon shoes, and he puts them in that chemical called the dip that basically is kind of like a molten lava to stuff, like it's like an acetone, and like you hear these shoes like screaming and squelching for their life, and it's just rough. However, later in the film, when you realize that Judge Doom, he gets run over by a steamroller and flattens, and he's screaming, and he's just screaming, and he's twitching, his body's twitching. I remember just every time watching going like, like it freaked me out, and I was like, I just hated it. It was so like hard to watch. And then it's worse because he stands up, blows into his thumb, and inflates himself, and you realize he's a toon, and then his eyes pop out, and now he's got these like demonic red eyes, and he chases people around, and then eventually he gets like drenched in dip and just screams. Like, oh my gosh, this movie was like a fun little jaunt with a rabbit and a human and this and that. And then next thing you know, like the ending is like insane and dark and twisted. Yeah. And it took me a long time before I could look at that movie. And then, of course, I was like, okay, well, there's nothing else to watch at Grandma's house. Let's watch Who Framed Roger Rabbit again. And now, like, I can watch it a bunch. But at the time, like, when I first watched it, yikes. I mean,
yeah. But what you just said did remind me. And again, these lists they're sometimes hard to make.
Oh, yeah.
You're trying to reach back in your childhood, and some of these things affected me more than others. But I said what I was expecting you to say, which is Willow.
Oh.
And Willow for me, I look back at the movies I was able to watch. My parents didn't give a flying crap what I watched for movies, except for apparently Temple of Doom. Because these movies I was watching at like 5 years old.
Yeah.
Okay. And Willow is absolutely terrifying. It is an epic adventure. One of my favorite movies. But holy crap, it is really scary and really dark.
Yep.
And even as you watch it as an adult, you're like, well, this is scary. Like baby killing and hunting and these wolf creatures that are attacking villages and blood and gore and monsters. And this is a kid's movie my mom let me watch. Like, that movie was probably right up there with Ghostbusters 2 as rewatchability and terrifyingness.
Yeah.
Those two in my childhood. And then the only other thing that I've got for things that terrified me, this is not a movie, but impacted me deeply, and I still can't watch it to this day, is the Michael Jackson Thriller music video.
Oh, my kids can't watch that either. It scares
Nope.
Jackson to death.
Nope. My
I love
uncle let me watch it, and I was at my grandma's house, and I was probably Emmy's age. I mean, this is right as Thriller was coming out, and I went, oh, wow, the transformation. I was like, oh, I'm done. I ran out of that room crying. And I'm sure my mom yelled at her brother for allowing me to watch such a show, but
And then he plotted to murder her and take over. Yeah.
Exactly. He was probably 16 at the time, but I mean, anyway, those are all my impactful ones.
Yep. No, me too. It's just interesting to like look back at some of this stuff, after we saw that Bambi article, and just like realize like we have this idea that like Disney movies are wholesome and that family films are always like wholesome, but like there can be some pretty dark, heavy, serious subject matter in some of these films. And sometimes just like weird, creepy stuff. I mean, Brita was bringing up the Skeksis from the Dark Crystal, and
so scary.
Just like, but there can be these things that like, for one reason or another, can be like traumatizing to watch as a child, and you look back at them as an adult, and you're like, that's not scary at all. It's not weird to an adult. But like I love Thriller. Like I love that music video. Amazing dancing, the costumes, the makeup. Oh, yeah. But
I still can't watch it though.
I showed it to Jackson when he was like 4, and that kid won't watch it.
Look what you did. What happened to me? I will never. Well, I won't let Emmy watch it because I won't watch it. I actually can't. It evokes something from my childhood that just makes me scared.
See, here's the thing, Matt. Uncle Spencer will let her watch it.
Oh my gosh, my poor. No, Emmy. Here's the thing. Emmy, you could probably show it to. Emmy's fearless.
Yeah, probably. She is pretty fearless.
Emmy does not get scared of very many things very often. She gets sad in these movies, like Frozen. She's like, where's mom and dad?
Right.
Or Finding Nemo we watched last week. Oh, the mom died by that barracuda. Oh, and dad and Nemo are separated the whole movie.
Yep.
Gosh, Disney, man, screwing up every... Gosh.
So I think this leads perfectly into our question of the week. Super friends, we want to hear from you this week.
Yes.
What is a movie or something that you witnessed, saw as a child? A film, maybe a music video, whatever, that you saw as a child that was traumatic to you, and that either you still can't go back and watch it, or it took you a long time to be able to go back and watch it. And I think we're going to get a lot of really good answers, Matt, because there's some lists, and I looked at some of these lists. There's tons of stuff that people have issues with. But Super Friends, we want to hear from you. Let us know at all the normal places. Facebook, Twitter, email, Instagram. You can call our voicemail number. Get back to us and let us know, and we will read your answers next week. Mm-hmm. All right, Matt. this was a fun one, man. I'm glad we revisited some childhood pain.
This was fun. Yeah. I feel better. I feel like I'm not going to sleep tonight, actually.
I mean, I'm not going to go watch Bambi tonight or anything, but I mean, you know.
And I'm not going to watch Thriller. Ever.
I'm going to find a way to make you watch it. I'm going to find a way.
Man. If you made a mask, like printed out a mask from that music video of the transformation, you would have me probably on the floor in the fetal position next time you saw me.
Awesome. Good to know. Good to know. Check. Got it down. Hold on. Let me finish. Yep. Mask. Yep. Got it. All right. Well, from all of us here at the Fortress of Nerditude to all of you out there, wherever you may be, may the Force be with you. Always.